Okay, so we're over on page 207 of our World of Graphics book, and we're looking at this question 1 here. So we've already complete the activity over here to the left, so creating an isometric drawing. We've done this already, so we're going moving over to this one. So, orthographic views and a pictorial view of an object are shown below. Use the subtracting parts from the isometric drawing method to create an isometric drawing of the object. So what we're given here is orthographic views of this object. So we've looked at orthographic views before. So we're given an elevation, so looking in at this pink section, so looking in from this angle. We're given a plan, so looking straight down from the top. And we're given an end view as well, so looking in at this yellow section here, looking in over in this direction. So we're given our 3 views, and we're also given this pictorial to help us imagine what these 3 views look like in 3D. So we're given 3 2D views, but we know when we piece these together that we get this isometric projection of the drawing. Okay, so this would be our pictorial 3D view. So the orthographic views are these ones, and the pictorial views is this one here. So what we're going to start by doing is drawing out these orthographic views. So I'm going to start with the elevation. I know that the overall height of the elevation is 60 and the overall width of the elevation is 100. So I'll go over to my sheet and I'm just going to come down 100 from my border. And I'm just going to draw a line now across my page. So I'm not going to go all the way across, I'm just going to go about halfway. I'm going to call that line the X, Y line. So I've come down 100, and the length of that line, just to give you an idea of how long that is 270 millimeters. So that's how long that line is for me. Now, what I just said there was that the height is 60 and the width is 100. Okay, so let's draw that in. So from the edge of my page now, I'm going measuring in 120 mil. That's going to get me this point. And from that point, I'm going measuring over here 100. And from one of them points, I'm going measuring up 60. Which is the height given here. Draw a horizontal line across and a vertical line from the other point up to meet it. Okay, so we can see I've drawn a rectangle here, and my elevation is going to fit into that rectangle. I'm then going to move down 20 mil. I'm going to start drawing my plan. So I've measured down 20 mil and I've just drawn a construction line horizontally there. So we can see from our plan that the plan goes down 70 mil. So I'm going to project down both of my widths here. And measure down 70 mil. Okay, and I know that my plan now is going to fit into this rectangle here. So I've come down 20 mil I've come down to 70mm, and I've come down, the width here is given as being 100. Okay, so my plan is going to fit into this box now. The next step is to do the end view, which is this view over here, and to do that, going back to my drawing, I'm going projecting from this point here a line at 45 degrees, and from this point down here a line at 45 degrees as well. Okay, the height from the elevation and the end view doesn't change, so the height of the shape is going to always remain the same. So I'm going to project across my height with a construction line. And project up these points where they cut the XY line. So one cuts it here and the other cuts it here. Okay, my elevation will fit here, my plan will fit here, and my end view will fit here. Okay, so that's all drawn with construction lines so far. The next step for me is to start filling in some of my firm lines. Okay, so we know that this is 100mm wide, this whole plan, and we also know that this part of it is 75. So if this is 75, the remainder is going to be 25. We also know that this point comes down here 30, so we can start drawing that in the plan. So from my plan, coming across 25, and I can fill that line in with a firm line. I also see that this line comes down 30mm from our drawing, and I can finish filling in the other two firm lines. Okay, and that is the plan. So I'm going to measure down 5mm and 5mm below that, just so I can write in that that is the plan. So that's my plan. Next one is my elevation. So I can now project this line here up into my elevation. So I'm going to need it in my elevation. And take a look here at the drawing again. So yeah, we can see that if I project this line up, I will meet it as this line here. Okay. We also see that this line here is 25mm up, so 25mm up, and this point here is joined up to this point here. So let's draw that now in our worksheet. So from the bottom of our shape we have to measure up 25mm. That's going to get us that horizontal construction line. And now I can start drawing in my firm lines. Okay, so that's what my shape now is going to look like if I look at it in at this pink section. So I'm looking in from this side, looking in this angle, and that's what my elevation is going to look like. So I see this L shape here, and I see this triangular shape here as well. So the L shape and the triangular shape. Okay, and I can now measure up 5 and 5. So 5 mil and 5 mil. And I can just write in that this is my elevation. Okay, and I can also write in that this is my end view. So this will be my end view in a minute. End view. Okay, so let's just look and see what that end view looks like. So we can see that this bottom section here is this yellow section. We can see that this square shape here is this yellow section. And then this section here is actually what this blue slanted section looks like when I'm looking in at the end view. Okay, so going back to my sheet, and I can now project this line here over to the edge of my shape. So this point right here, so this projected over to the end of my shape. And I'm going to project it up now at 45 degrees, just like what I did to this line here and this line here. I projected it up at 45 degrees. And that will find me the location of that in my end view. Okay, so we see now we've got a grid, and that grid looks very much like this grid here as well in my end view. So I can start filling in my firm lines. Okay, and that's what the end view now of my shape is going to look like. So that's the three orthographic views drawn. And the next thing now we'd like to draw is this 3D pictorial view of it. Okay, so we're going back to our sheet now again. And over here we're going to draw our pictorial view. And this is just helpful that before we draw our isometric, we'll have an idea of what that shape is going to look like in the pictorial. So I'm going to start here with my crow's foot, which is a line vertically down, a line going up at 30 degrees. So I'm just going to start a small bit more over to the right here. So a straight line down, a line going up at approximately 30 degrees, and a line going up in the other direction at approximately 30 degrees as well. Okay, so that's our crow's foot to start us off, and we are trying to draw this shape here. Okay, so what I would start by doing is drawing a box that would fit this whole shape inside it. And once we have that drawn, we can start to take a few pieces out. So what this looks like to me is that is a ratio of 1 is to 1 is to 2. So it means that two squares are more or less left side by side down beside each other, and they merge together to become a rectangular shape. So this length is twice the length of this, which is twice the length of the height as well. So that's what kind of rectangular cuboid I'm going to draw here. So this length is going to be twice the height, and it's also going to be twice the depth as well. So that looks like it's about right, and twice the depth here as well. Okay, so a vertical line up here means a vertical line up here. And you want them two lines to be more or less the same height. And then a 30-degree line here is going to be a 30-degree line here as well. A line going back at 30 degrees in this direction is also going to be a line going back parallel here as well. And they're going to be joined up with a vertical line. So the vertical line is parallel with the edge of my sheet. Okay, vertical line. Line going back at 30 degrees here is going to be parallel with a line going back at 30 degrees here. And then finally, a line at the front here in this direction at 30 degrees is going to be a line going back here at 30 degrees as well. Okay, so that kind of looks like my cuboid shape. Next step for me is to cut out a small bit of that. Okay, so going back to my pictorial. Okay, from the pictorial I can see now that it's actually two going in the left direction and one going in the right direction. So if you think that this is twice the length of this one here. Okay, so I've actually done it out in the wrong direction. So I'm just going to correct that now and just rotate this shape a small bit, and I'll come back then. Okay, so I fixed that up. We can see that it's going off in this direction now instead, just like it is over here in our book. Okay, so I wasn't very happy with the ratio and the proportions of that rectangle before, but I'm actually happy with it now, so we can continue. Okay, so the first thing that they're going to take a cut out of is this rectangular section here. So we're going to take a rectangular cut out of this section. So I'm going back now to my sketch, and I'm just going to take a cut out of this cuboid. Okay, and all the lines I'm drawing here are parallel with either of these first three lines that we have drawn in our crow's foot. So all of them lines are parallel. So parallel here. Okay, so I've just taken a cut now out of that rectangular cuboid, and the next cut now I want to take is this inclined cut here as well. So I'm joining this point here down to this point, and this point here down to this point. getting rid of my construction lines. Okay, and there's a rough sketch now of that shape that I'm trying to draw. So that's our pictorial 3D sketch of that. And before I finish that, I'm just going to go over the few firm lines that I want to keep, and measuring up from this corner 5 and 5, and I'm going to say freehand sketch. I'm going to call that the freehand sketch. Okay, so I have my freehand sketch drawn here, and I've just shaded in the two sections here. So the top piece here I have shaded in blue, and I can correspond that now to the plan. So looking down on the top of the shape, I have my blue section here as well. So these are in my plan view. This section actually relates to this section here, and I've done the same in my elevation with red. And you can just shade this in. I have this drawn in red, and that would be this section here drawn in red as well. Okay, so it's just showing that you know the link between this 3D sketch and these 2D orthographic projection drawings. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is draw this in isometric view. Okay, so to do that, we're going to start down here in the bottom left of our page, and we're going to draw our isometric axis. So just like we were doing with the crow's foot, it's going to be a line going up in a 30-degree direction to the left, a line going up in a 30-degree direction to the right, and a line going vertically up then as well. So we use our 30 and 60 set square to do that. So the line's going up in 30 degrees to the left, 30 degrees to the right, and vertically up. And just to give you an idea of where this point here, which would be the origin, where that origin is, it is about 25 mil up from the bottom of my sheet, and about 140 mil in from the left. Okay, so that's about where my origin is, and I want to start drawing that shape. So if I go back here to my 3D projection of it, I've drawn my axis here, my line to the 30 degrees to the left, 30 degrees to the right, and vertically up, and I'm going to start with this distance out here to the left. So we know that that distance is 100 mil because it's given here as being 100 mil. We know that this direction up to the right is going to be 70 mil because it's given here as 70 mil. And we know that the vertical height, the overall vertical height of the drawing is 60. Okay, so 100 to the left, 70 to the right, and 60 up. So I'm just going to measure up that line, 100 mil. So 100 up to the left, 70 up to the right, and then the vertical height is going to be 60. And what I'm doing here is, it's just like drawing my freehand sketch. I'm going to start with a larger cuboid, and then I'm going to take cuts out of it. So I'm doing the exact same thing as I was doing freehand, but this time I'm doing it with the actual measurements. So I've drawn two vertical lines up, one from the 100 mil, one from the 70 mil, and now I'm moving up my 60 mil to this point, and I'm drawing a line up parallel to this front line, which is up to 30 degrees to the right, and 30 degrees up to the left. And we might just get a small bit of my shape cutting into No, we just managed to keep it that it's not cutting into my freehand sketch, thankfully. Okay, so that's why it's important to plan out your drawing. I should have planned it so that I moved this down just a small bit more, but it's actually not cutting into it, so that's perfect. Okay, so that's the rectangle that my whole shape is going to fit into. The first thing I want to do, or the next thing I want to do, is to cut this rectangular section out of it, just like when I cut the rectangular section out of here. So the rectangular section, when I look at my drawing, is 75mm wide, so that's that rectangular section. And if this is 25mm up, that means that this height here is going to be 35mm. So I need to come down 35mm and in 75mm. So measuring down here, 35mm. And I can draw that line in. I'm going to measure in that line 75mm. To get to this point, and that point is going to go vertically up. And I can then look at my plan to see that that cut comes in here. If that's 30mm, this is 70mm altogether, it's going to come in here 40mm. So line up here at 30 degrees and measure in that line 40mm. And I can draw in that section that's been cut out. Okay, so that's that rectangle now that's actually been cut out, and I can just get rid of my few construction lines there as well. So the ones I don't need any longer, just to show that a bit clearer. Okay, so I'm not gone over any of my firm lines just yet. Okay, so that's that rectangular section just cut out of my shape. And the last thing I need to do then is to join this corner here down to this corner here with an inclined line. So just joining up them two corners and lining it up and finding the position of this other corner over here and joining them up as well. And I can start drawing in my firm lines. Okay, so that now is our isometric drawing of that shape. So I can get rid of any of them construction lines that I want to get rid of. Okay, and I'm just going to label that as my isometric projection of the shape, and I'm just going to shade in the two surfaces here as well. Okay, so that now is our orthographic view, our 3D sketch, and our isometric of our drawing. So the next thing we want to move on to is our 3D model of that drawing. So if we go over here to our browser, and what I want you to do is load up Onshape. So I've been talking to you about this so far. Onshape is this online platform for online modeling. So you're going to need a mouse and a computer to do this, and you're going to go up to create, and you're going to start a new document, and I'm going to call this isometric projection. Okay, and it's going to load up a workspace for you. So I find it easiest to use this platform when I'm using a mouse. So if you're on a laptop, maybe think about getting a mouse for it. Now we're going to start by drawing this shape here again. This one here. So we're going to draw on this one here again. So we know that the base of this shape is 100mm by 70mm, and we know that the overall height of it is 60mm. So we're drawing it as a cuboid first. So 100 by 75. So I'm going to go over here to my Onshape again, and I want to do a sketch. Okay, so the first thing it's asking is what plane do you want to sketch it on. So I want it to be on the ground, so that would be the top plane. So that would be the ground. The front plane would be looking in at the elevation, and the right plane would be looking at the end view. So I want to keep it that this is the base of it, so it's going to be on the ground. So I'm going to click the top view. Over here I can look then straight down on the top view. So this is like looking at the plan of the shape. Okay, so I've selected sketch 1, and I'm on that plane now. So I want to sketch onto that plane, and I want to sketch a center point rectangle. Okay, so choose center point rectangle, bring it over here, and draw any rectangle there at all. We'll try to get it about right. It needs to be 100 by 75, or 100 by 70. Okay, so first is telling me you can change this one because there's a square around it. So I want to change that to 100. So just type in 100 and press enter. Now it's asking me, do I want to change this one? Yes, I do. I want to change that to 70. Okay, so now I have a rectangle that's 100 by 70. Okay, when you're finished sketching, green tick. This time now, I want to make that sketch into a 3D shape. So as we see, it's just a 2D sketch there at the moment. And again, I can look straight in at that 2D sketch by hitting this top button here, looking down at the top of it. And I want to go extrude. So extrude means turning a 2D shape into a 3D shape. So I want to extrude this shape, so select it. And I want to extrude it by 60mm, because I know that that rectangle is 60mm off the ground. Okay, so it looks like nothing has changed, but if I hold down the scroller on my mouse and move it around, I can see that that has now changed into a 3D cuboid. Okay, so I can look at it here like this. I can look at it from the top, or I can look at it from the front, so the elevation. Okay, I can zoom in and out of it there as well, and I can pan around. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a 3D rectangle. So just like what we sketched, we started with a 3D rectangle. Okay, so can we remember what the next thing we did was? We took a cut out of this face, didn't we? Okay, so what I want to do again, I want to sketch. And again, it's asking me, okay, where do you want to sketch? So select a sketch plane. So the first time I picked the top plane, I don't want to sketch on that. You could pick the front plane, I don't want to sketch on that. You could pick the right plane, I don't want to sketch on that. So I don't actually want to sketch on any of the planes, but I do want to sketch on this surface of the rectangle. So you can choose any surface you want to sketch onto. So I want to sketch on this one. Okay, so now it's ready. It knows that I want to sketch on that, and I want to look straight in at that. So I want to look straight in at the front. See how I'm looking straight in at it there. And I want to draw a rectangle now. And if I remember from here, my rectangle is going to be 75 by 35 down. So this time I don't want it to be a center point rectangle, I want it to be a corner rectangle. And I want the corner to be touching this edge here. And I want it to come down and touch this edge here as well. So again, it's asking me how long do you want this to be? I want this to be 75mm long. And how long do you want this to be? I want this to be 35. Perfect. There's my rectangle. So I can green tick that. Now again, I want to extrude that shape. So I want to actually cut into my shape, and I want to cut in a distance of 40mm. So this here was a distance of 40mm in. So back here, and again I'm picking extrude, and I want to extrude this rectangle that I just drew. Now we see that it's coming out here, so by default it's actually adding a surface onto it, but I don't want to add, I want to remove. So see here, we're removing a surface from it, and it's saying that you want to remove 25. No, I don't. I want to remove 40. Press enter, and it's removed 40mm of that. Green tick. 40mm of my rectangle removed. Next thing I want to do is to remove this inclined section here as well. So the easiest thing for me to do is look straight in at it, and again I want to sketch. Okay, again it's asking me, right, what do you want to sketch onto? I want to sketch onto this surface here. So that's where I'm going to put my sketch. And I'm picking line this time, and I'm just getting this point, joining it down to this point, joining it up to the top, and joining it back in. So I've drawn a triangle there. Now if I just draw the line, it's not a closed shape, so it's not going to know what to extrude, so it has to be a closed shape. So that's why I've drawn a triangle. If you just draw the line, it's not going to know what to extrude, so make sure you close it. So that's my sketch now drawn, and what we want to do again is green tick that we have that sketch done, green tick, and there it is, there's our sketch, and we want to extrude. So picking that sketch to extrude, and now it's saying, okay, do you want to bring it out here? No, I don't. Again, I want to remove surfaces from that. And the amount of surface left over to remove, its default picked 25, which would leave this small rib here, which we don't want. We want it to be 30mm. We want it, remove it all the way to the edge, green tick. Okay, so we've actually just 3D modeled that shape that we have sketched here over on page 207 of our books. See it there? Okay, what we can do now is hide our planes. So I just want to hide them, so I'm just left with my shape, and you can now look at that in isometric, which will be pressing this button here. I could look at it from this side, or this side, or this side, right, pan around and look at it whatever way I want, but I definitely want to look at it isometric here, and I want to take a screenshot of that. So I'm sure there's ways of screen grabbing this and pasting it in, but for me I just control and print screen. Okay, I control this print screen. I'll bring it in and I'll save it as an image in a minute, and I'm going to print that image and just have it on my sheet as well. So when we're finished, we're going to have our orthographic views, we're going to have our freehand sketch, we're going to have our isometric, and we're going to have our 3D modeled shape as well. So we're going to have it in 4 different ways, which is very impressive. Okay, so I'm going to print that off, I'm going to stick it on here, and that's going to be my drawing then complete. Okay, and that is our drawing now complete. So we have our orthographic projection, we have our freehand sketch, we have our isometric drawn, and we have our 3D model then in place as well that we've created and we've printed. If you don't have the facility to print it, you can just attach it to the assignment with this work. Okay, but I think it looks good when you have everything here together. Okay, so finally I just want to show you one more thing about Onshape. So Onshape is very, very handy in the sense that I'm now finished creating that. I can just click away and it saves instantly. So it's saved here straight away. Another thing I wanted to show you is that if you go into your account and you go into your preferences, you should have your millimeters and your decimal places set as millimeters, degrees, grams, and you can have this 12 hours or 24 hours, doesn't really matter, that one. And you can have your length decimal places to just 1 decimal place. So there's no point having a set up here 5 decimal places. We don't need that. 1 decimal place is plenty. The next thing then is I would set this to SolidWorks, just because if any of you decide to go and do DCG for the Leaving Cert, you'll be using SolidWorks. So to have the same mouse setup is pretty useful. Okay, and that's the way that I'll be explaining it in SolidWorks. So have a setup in SolidWorks as well. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you later on in the week.